Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a fun topic. I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I had a couple people reach out to me about doing like in-person training.
Hmm.
Um, and I talked with one of the girls today about it. She and another friend who's actually a former online one-on-one coaching client of mine. But they both live really locally. And she was talking about like, they have very similar goals and wanting to like the nutrition side of it is not super important to them right now. They both are very well versed in like that side of things, but they really just want like the strength training. And I got so excited. I was like, this is going to be really fun. Like just they're only living like once a week, and then I'll, have a program for them for the remainder of the week or whatever. But like actually training in person again and in my like new studio space because I have like a rack and a barbell and all that. And so I got like really excited about it. And I figured you would super appreciate that because I know how much you enjoy like in-person training, and they just really want to focus on like lifting and getting stronger. And one of them she recently lost like 10, 15 pounds, and she's like my size. Um, and she's like down to like 115 pounds. I'm like, girl, she goes, yeah. And I have a white girl flat ass booty now, and I'm not okay with it.
Right. We're like, we need a booty.
Yeah.
No, that's
Um,
exciting. And you're gonna get to train them like you're not gonna be dictated by somebody else's training expectations or like you're like, hey, we're coming to get strong. This is
yeah.
how we're gonna do it. And you get to control that. That's super exciting.
Like
That's
how I
awesome.
used to do when I did just one-on-one training for so
Yeah.
many years.
I
Yeah.
was working on my website updating because I'm like getting progress pictures now, so I wanted to get that up there. And I reached out to one of my clients and I'm like, "Hey, can I use your progress pictures?" She's like, "Well, which ones do you want to use?" And I sent her what I wanted to use, and I'm like, "Did you even realize that your back looks like
Oh,
this from what it was?" And she was like, "Holy crap." She's like, "Look at my back muscles." I'm like, "They're awesome." So I was like, "I want everybody to see those suckers."
that's amazing. I love that.
So,
I
oh, it was
told
so stinking cool.
I love that like when they don't realize it. I think I told you a few weeks ago, my Wednesday morning workout thing that I'll do. I like sneakily took a picture of one of my gals that was on when she was like turned away from me, like doing a something upper body, I think rows or something, to get a picture of like the backs of her arms. And I was like, holy, what? And so like I sent her the quick little video while in the middle of the workout. She's like, what did you just send me? I said, take a look at the backs of your arms and your back real quick. She's like, oh my gosh, like you just don't think to like look at that part of yourself. And I said, yeah, I like stopped what I was doing because I was so impressed I had to take a video. And she was like, oh, thanks so much. But it's cool
Yeah.
to be able to show them that the progress that they've made, that's not just like midsection or on the scale, but like the muscular like shifts and changes. And there's just something about that connects the brain and you go like, yeah, like makes them feel strong. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so awesome to acknowledge it because I don't think it gets acknowledged enough. And that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing. Like, sure, people all acknowledge you if you're losing weight, but people don't say stuff like, how do you, especially in today's society, how do you say like, wow, you're getting bigger,
Yeah.
people will say it to me and they're afraid to say it because they think I'm going to get upset, and I'm like, well, thank you. But
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
most women, like if you say like, oh my gosh, your butt's gotten huge, or like they're like,
Like,
oh, but
yeah.
we want to be proud of that for sure.
Hmm. Did you see you follow Alex Allen on
Yeah.
Instagram? Okay. I love her stuff. She's so funny. But and also like just so real, like so real. It's I'm like, yeah. Anyways, she did a post the other day that was funny. It was like I think it was a point of view, POV thing, whatever. Where it was like, me watching guys like uh gawk at other girls in the gym, like when they walk by or whatever. And she goes, and then also me when I see a girl walk through the gym that got like a banging booty, like, oh girl,
Yeah.
you know. And I
Yeah.
was like, that is so true. I'll comment to Dan sometimes, like, dang, look at this girl, look, look, look. And he's like,
Yep.
hey, like it's awkward for him, but I'm over
I
here like
know, right?
I want to like go and be like, your booty looks real good, or like your back muscles are awesome.
Yeah.
It is a
Yeah,
weird thing.
it is.
Yeah.
But we're changing it. We have to change it. It has
Yes.
to change somehow. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. That's what I genuinely, and I don't, maybe maybe this is bad, but I do the same thing. I genuinely probably send more videos of girls that I think just look banging to my girlfriends than I do any other videos. I'm like, we're gonna look like her someday. We're gonna squat like her someday.
I thought you were gonna say you send him to Houston. And he's like, okay, babe, you really gotta stop sending me these. Like it's kind of getting my Instagram really weird when I open it.
Right, yeah, I do sometimes. One time I sent him to my coach, my powerlifting coach, and I was like, I know that we're really focused on like how much I can lift, but if I could look like this, that would be really great. And he's like, you already do. And I'm like, you're sweet, but that's not true. She's hot, huh? And he's like, and this is where I stop the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you're like 60 years old. We can talk about this, right?
So what you're telling me is that you're doing exactly that frustrating thing that our clients do to us. Like,
Yep.
can I look like this
Oh,
person in 3 months? Yeah, sure. If you were a different skin color, height, body build, yeah, absolutely,
yep.
no problem.
Spend
Yeah,
3 hours a day in the gym. We could
right.
totally get there. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm totally,
Mhm.
totally. And that's I want to circle. I want to hit on that because we talked about comparison on our accountability call, and that was
Right.
I cannot stop thinking about that honestly because um we compare ourselves so much to other people. And when I was like, oh, I wish I had your stomach, and you're like, yeah, I wish I could squat what you could squat. It's so true. We're so busy comparing ourselves to how other people look and how we want to be that we're not appreciating the fact
Mm,
that when we are putting in work, we are making progress.
right.
And my stomach is like my biggest area of self-conscious because I had a traumatic surgery at 15 that they cut me up and down, and so like all my organs kind of hang down there. I don't have super great control of that area. And so I've
Mhm.
just always been super self-conscious. Then you put Crohn's on top of it, or it doesn't matter what happens, I just always bloat.
Mhm.
And it's like, man, if I quit worrying so much about comparing my stomach that I have no control over because I was slice and dice
Yeah.
and put more focus into other aspects that I have been improving on, like I probably would be a lot more confident in my skin. And that goes for everybody, everybody.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's a really valid point. And I think, you know, it's a hard thing to recognize or be aware of what you don't have control over, and then also what you do. And, I would say that a lot of coaches out there would say, oh, you have control over that. Like you can tighten that or blah, blah, blah. But I mean, a surgery at 15 years old, like a traumatic one at that. The scar tissue, the level of like shifting of your organ system during that time, like there's so much that goes into that. And then, like you said, layer that with Crohn's on top of that,
yeah.
and you're so well versed in that world of learning like what works and what doesn't, but it's still like almost in like a state of constant inflammation. Um, and you control it with as much control as you possibly can, and that's the best that you can do with it. And so if like you play that into someone else with their own, like women who have had C-sections or
Mhm.
abdominal surgeries, hysterectomies, things like that, like where the entire inside of your body has been changed. I was working with a gal who had a full hysterectomy, and I talked about how once her doctor cleared her, how her balance was going to be challenged, was going to feel different because entire organ system, like pieces of her were no longer in her. And she was like, oh, okay. And post surgery, she like messaged me in the middle of her like 6 week recovery. She's like, my balance, literally, I forgot you had said anything about it, but it has shifted. It feels so different. It feels like I'm having to relearn my center of gravity. And it's like she could have stayed so locked in on like her scars and like how funky her belly looks now. She's like, so instead, I've been working on like standing on one foot, drawing in at my pelvic or my pelvic floor, like engaging my lower abdominal wall, just focusing on those little things. She's like, I can't change the scars that are there. Like that's just, it is what it is. She said, but with the tools and things that we've worked on, she's like, now I feel like, okay, I have something I can focus on that I do have control over. And I don't know. I like that, to me, that's an empowering thing, for someone to be able to
Oh.
recognize and like what you do have control over and what you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people give up control or think they don't have certain like control over certain things, and they focus too much on things they really don't have control over.
Yep. Yep. And like people like that, it just makes it easier for them to make excuses. And then you like
Mhm.
roll into that victim mindset, and that's a whole other beast that kind of drags you down. But, gosh, it's awesome that she had such a good coach, you, who
Yeah,
educated her and taught her, not just said, like, this is what we're doing, but
right,
taught her that stuff, because I guarantee you that was never discussed post-op, was never discussed pre-op. Her
right.
doctor never mentioned that. I mean, my recovery for the scar was, here's a pillow, you're going to need this for 6 months to get up. Like that was what it was.
Wow.
So for her to have you that was educating her, and she knew what she needed to work on, I mean, you can't put a price on that. And then her
I
having
and
those
I
mindsets.
learned, yeah, and I actually learned that firsthand, not from hysterectomy, but when I had my implants removed, I had to first when I had them put in, I had to learn different upper body positions in different exercises. I couldn't sleep on my stomach anymore, which is actually a blessing in disguise because it's like the worst
Yeah.
position. But I had to like learn, relearn how to do movements, right? And then having them taken out, it was like I had to shift things again. And it's different scarring, different surgery that was done. And I had to relearn my body's center of gravity and my positioning on a Bosu ball, on a stability ball, in a plank position, like all these like little nuanced things that, granted, I have like years and years and years of body awareness and control and like exercise background, whatever. And the general population doesn't. And so,
Mm.
but it's such a small thing that, like you said, people just don't think about it. It's definitely not discussed, in the surgery platform. But I mean, it makes a big difference when your body goes through a traumatic anything. You have to be able to give it the support that it needs to take on the demands of life that now look a little different because your body is a little different.
Mhm.
And it's just, I don't think it's discussed enough.
How long did you have to be cognizant of those movements before it became routine? Like, how long
Oh,
were you like,
man.
oh, wait, I can't do that anymore?
Yeah, no, I built myself like a 12-week post-op program, exercise program, to ease my body back into, certain, well, lots of movement in general. I was very sick before surgery, so I was not working out. I wasn't allowed to, like, I wasn't allowed to fast walk at all. Like, I had to like
Wow.
slowly walk because I was having hyperthyroid issues, and like my resting heart rate was like 120,
And
anywhere
that was
between
all from the
110.
implants?
That's my strong belief. Yes. I mean, they were removed
Wow.
and everything went away. So you tell me. But
Yeah.
there's no scientific data to state that implants cause XYZ, but there's no scientific data that says cigarettes will cause lung cancer, or if someone has lung cancer that has never smoked before, where's the causation? So it's one of those like,
Hypotheticals, yeah.
yeah, vicious. But yeah, I would say it was probably at least a couple of months of reminding myself, um, like how to do that movement in my new environment. It's such a funny thing. Like on the Bosu ball, I remember this so vividly. Like I couldn't get my bearings. I'm like, okay, I've always laid on this weird little gray spot that was on my Bosu ball. Like I knew exactly where to put like my mid back. And I had to change that because that had like almost 3.5 pounds basically of like extra that was no longer there. And when you balance yourself on a Bosu ball, you have to like, you know, your upper body versus lower body, like how long are your legs? How long is your upper torso to know where that right position? I had to change that. And so it was interesting realizing that because I'm like falling all over the ball. I'm like, this is stupid. I know how to use a Bosu ball. I just remember laughing at myself many, many times during that process. Yeah.
That's yeah, no, I mean, that's wild. And you know, let's just say 3 months with the education that you had of your body. I mean,
Right.
that could be 6 months for somebody else who doesn't know, and it's just day-to-day movements.
Yeah. I did my first ever vocal lesson today. And it's something I've kind of like always wanted to do. I know it's super random, but I ran into a gal that I have known for many years. She actually did vocal lessons with my ex-husband's daughter. I had signed her up for some lessons with her anyways. And I've always wanted to do it, but the last 7 years I've been teaching like outdoor group classes and I would lose my voice all the time. Like it just wasn't, I didn't have a healthy voice during so many years. But she was teaching like belly breathing and just awareness. And she's like, man, you have such good body awareness. Like I didn't really even have to teach you the belly breath. Like you instantly like were able to do it. And so she taught me a couple other little like technique things that like I'm gonna have to actually work on them to like master them or whatever. But it just goes to show like when like body awareness is not, it's not an overnight thing, right? Like I would say I've probably had some sort of practice in it since probably early high school, if not even a little before then. And that alone, like how many years is that? I'm 40 now. And you say from, 15 to 40, and she still had to remind me a couple of times of like breath, you know? And I'm like, man, we do that all the time in our workouts, like when we're coaching clients, right? Like, hey, don't forget to breathe, like in on this part, exhale on this part. But we have such awareness of our bodies and breath and all that. But our clients are general population, like that is not a normal thing that for them to think about, but it is probably the number one thing we have the most control over and serves our body the best from the parasympathetic nervous system to the actual like explosiveness in a movement, like all across the board. And it's a challenging thing to teach someone to be that aware of their breath at all times, but
Yep.
it's super powerful.
Yeah. Well, and like you even have, clients who are dealing with high stress or high anxiety, and you explain to them the benefits of breath work. And I don't know if maybe I just don't relay it enough, but it's just not something that's normalized, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they
Mm-hmm.
kind of live you like, I don't, I'll
Yeah.
be fine. Like I don't need to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But
No.
it's like, you know, and for us, it's just kind of so inbred into us in our lifestyle. But then when people start doing it and they're like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
there's something up with this. But it's just like with anything. I mean, we have to do things a
Get into
lot
practice.
for
Mm-hmm.
us to see the benefit of it. I mean, I saw
Yeah.
something the other day. It was talking about, you know, prioritizing our health and fitness is not something that is normalized or accepted. When you do that, you are judged for being selfish. But when you do make that commitment to prioritize your health and fitness, a lot of things just start falling into place and you
Mm-hmm.
don't realize why. It just is. And it just all comes down to you prioritizing your health, and then just things get easier. Your anxiety goes down, your depression gets better. You see the benefits
Mm-hmm.
of breath work because you see how it affects your workouts.
Yeah.
You realize that, yeah, eating certain foods might be enjoyable, but how does it make you feel later?
Right.
And
What's the risk reward of it? Yeah.
exactly. And until people start realizing that prioritizing those things just to help them live a healthier lifestyle, like they're never going to see the connection. And it's definitely a mind shift change for sure.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times people get the whole paralysis or paralysis by analysis of like the daunting idea of it has to be like, an hour or two in the gym every day and now all of my meals have to be chicken and broccoli and rice. And,
Yeah, no.
like that is, I mean, if you 10 years ago, when I was bodybuilding, I would have been like, yeah, I mean, that's how you get to this place. But like those are very different goals than like what, the average person is looking to do. And I always try to think like communicate it from the place of like starting small and building on that, that one small thing. And it doesn't have to be, it's not about how many things you're doing. And it's not about how long you're doing the thing each day. It's about the consistency component. So when I start
Yeah.
teaching like breath work or whatever, like I'll have them like lay on the floor with no phone, like set your timer for 5 minutes. That's it. Literally just 5 minutes. If you tell me you do not have 5 minutes in your day, you're lying, and come back to
Yeah.
me when you're ready to not lie to me. Okay. But like set your phone 5 minutes, set it away from you, lay on the floor with your feet up the wall, and just literally just notice your breathing. Put your hands on your belly and literally just breathe. That's it. That's all I'm going. Okay, well, but like how long are my breaths? No, I don't give a shit. Like just breathe,
Yeah.
And the number of women who are like, I do this like so often now. I even have like one of my ladies like, I have mommy wall time. They call it wall time. Mommy goes to her wall time instead of like time out. And like nobody's allowed to bother her in her mommy wall time. And I'm like, good for you. And she's like, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 2 minutes, but it's like my time. And it is amazing. Like, I feel so much better afterwards. I'm like, yes. She's like, oh, this is going to be dumb. Like, what am I going to do for 5 minutes, whatever. And now it's like her favorite thing.
I was gonna say it sounds like all parents need to have mommy wall time.
Right?
uh,
Just like you go
yeah,
to timeout, children, mommy's putting herself in timeout.
exactly. Yes, you know
Mommy,
what
you
that
must be
means.
really bad. You're in timeout a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Why have you been in timeout 5 times today?
Because you, child, are stressing me out.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No, that's funny. No, it is. It really is. Like you said, the little things and the little things consistently. That's how we create results.
Yep. Yep. Well, guys, that's all we have time for today. And
I know, like that felt like that was fairly easy.
yeah, I think it's just, I mean, I don't even know if like, who knows if anyone's gonna listen to it. Who is it that Jillian, the chick that was on Mike's podcast, whatever, not too long ago. She was like, I mean, we just back in the day, we just put out blogs, we just put out, like content, like with zero expectation of like anybody actually liking it. Like you never went back and said, like, how many people have viewed my, blog or whatever, or commented on it. Like you just put it out there because it was like good information that you had and whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what this is going to be for us.
Yeah. Well,
Like
and I think
that time.
so I one of the gals I follow, the Movement Maestro, I really like her.
Mhm.
She was like the only people that should start a podcast are people that have something to say. And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you and I talk about stuff all the time that could definitely encourage other people, and
I think
so
so.
why not put it out there for other people to listen to?
Yeah.
And it will
Yeah.
help me because I'm not super great at selfishly. It'll help me because I don't feel like sometimes I'm super great at um expressing myself or enunciating what I want. And so
Mhm.
the more that I do this, that the more that that's going to help me
Yeah.
just as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I
which
mean,
maybe I'll put that in the podcast. Like, yeah, I know I suck at talking, so lay off me.
I suck at talking, which is why we're doing a podcast. So here's
Yeah.
my vulnerability side. Yeah. 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 I love that. But I think too, like you and I have built like such a like consistent conversation that like it's easy. Like us chatting on Zoom is like such an easy thing. We're just so used to it. And we a lot of times, yeah, we'll work on stuff. We'll talk about like what we're working on, but then a lot of times, like yesterday, like these topics come up, and we'll hash through them. And I think it's like, especially when we're hashing through them in real time like that, like I think is really cool. And I think eventually like we could even take questions and but not look at the questions until like in real time. So we're not, planning them, and just hope that between our two brains we can figure out an answer. But maybe
Yeah.
maybe we should look at them in advance to begin.
No, I do feel like I feel like you and I too are the type of people that, maybe there's a question that we have differing opinions on. That
Right.
doesn't mean that it's going to turn into anything. Like we can have a conversation and respect each other enough to be able to listen to each other's sides and then maybe come up with a middle ground or agree to
Mhm.
disagree. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, not that that's happened yet, but like, I mean,
But in a fully like
but
respectable way. Yeah.
yeah, like I honestly think if we got hit with something and we answered it differently, I would be like, why do you feel that way? And you would tell me, and I'd be like, okay. And you'd probably do
Yeah.
the same with
And then
me.
you have two differing views that maybe speak to one person or another.
Yeah.
And then it's also putting out there like, hey, it's okay if you don't agree with everything another person says, states, believes, whatever. Like, you can still be normal human beings. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. You can still treat everybody with decency.